So the 10-year career plan, knowing the requirements for advancement. You base a 10-year and or career plan off the objectives of your industry. So what does your industry require for movement between career levels? Do you have budgeting, scheduling, supervising experiences? Working first as a coordinator and then as a supervisor would expose you to the requirements of supervision. You base a 10-year and or career plan off continuing education requirements for your profession. So, what licenses and certificates are required for your entry and continued investment into the field? What are the consequences for not ensuring your licenses are up to date? And you can research this information via your industry organization website, as well as on the state and or federal websites that govern the industry. So there are certain fields that require you to complete continuing education, and you must have a license. And if you don't ensure your license is up to date, you're not valid. It's like the person who doesn't have a driver's license or is out of date. It has expired. Okay, then you're not valid. You're going to receive a ticket, right? It's the same thing in your own field. That, say, for instance, we're going to get into the accountant. Um, the accountant must have a CPA license because the accountant signs the financial statements, and anyone who signs the financial statements must have an up-to-date license. Otherwise, the company could be charged with fraud, right? So when you are thinking about your 10-year career plan, you want to think about it in terms of you being able to make sure that you know what your field actually requires and what it requires of you continually or in perpetuity until you quit the job. You base a 10-year and or career plan off establishing records of successes from entry level, supervisor, and middle management levels. What are the standard record of accomplishments necessary to move between levels? Conducting an information interview with someone in the field would provide the answers you need. So the standard record, so say for instance, the field is a sales oriented environment. So you know you have to meet quotas. There's no way around that. You have to meet a certain number of quotas. Everyone, if they're getting into like the stock market, financial investment fields or whatever, everyone is a broker, right? You pass the Series 7 license test, right, to get the Series 7 license, and then you go in as a broker and you're trading, right? And you have to meet a certain list, a certain quota, right? And that's, I don't know how long that is, right? Because I'm not a stockbroker, but you have so long to meet that quota. And then the next level could be managing accounts or something like that, right? And you make sure that you bring in consistent money, accounts, and funding, and you keep you don't lose any client. So you do whatever you need to do to keep that client. And then the next level could be you managing people, right? A few people up under your management, your supervision, and you make sure that they continue to manage clients, keep funding, meet their quotas, etc. So that's a standard record of accomplishments, level by level. That's something that you should know. You don't come into that environment saying you're going to do something new. It doesn't work like that. Everyone has to pay their dues. Everyone has to move up, and everyone has to meet their quotas. Everyone has to move up in a logical, ordered fashion. Now, once you get up there and you are up there at that administrator levels, you may be able to do some different wrangling. You might be the person who takes the client out to dinner. You know, some of your duties you begin delegating them more, and then Some duties might be that you give commentary on a news, cable news program or something like that. Then you might consult. Later, you might decide that you want to have your own investment organization, financial organization, right? And then that sort of increases your capacity. But you've had all of that time working through your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats to now realize that you can do this. Preparing the 10-year career plan. Um, so I want to get into sample research and preparing to become an accountant, and how to use Bureau of Labor Statistics. So you should be familiar with this. If not, this is off the Department of Labor website, and it shows you basically how to prepare yourself for your field. So let's look at the accountant. The reason why I like to use the accountant more than any other sort of sample job description is because people don't really understand what accountants really do. And I teach this in my class as an example to help students understand that the accountant is the type of person who is holed up in an office day in, day out, with no window or one window, walls, barely take a lunch, and they are looking at numbers all day, every day, the rest of their lives. Now, as you move up, it might change, right? And then if you move down, you will be an accounting clerk, right? And they have a little bit more flexibility. But there has to be high attention to detail. If you're saying, here it is, you got to work around 7:30 or 8 o'clock, right? And your lunch is usually somewhere around 11, 12:30, or something like that. If you're saying by 12 o'clock, I'm tired of looking at these numbers, this is not the field for you, because being an accountant, that's all you do is look at numbers. You look at numbers all day. You have to interpret numbers. You got to write reports about numbers, right? It's a numbers game. Now, if you care about numbers, but you may not want to become an accountant, you can get into finance or something like that. But no matter what, with an accountant or an auditor, that's all you look at from day to day. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to just highlight a few things here. So with an accountant, you need at least a bachelor's degree in accounting. And you need to complete certification. So if you don't have a license, if you have a bachelor's degree in accountant but no license, you are no different than an accounting clerk. And they don't usually give people with a bachelor's degree a job as an accounting clerk. So as you are preparing for transition while you are in college, you need to prepare for that test, because you have to take that CPA test in order to get the license, in order to get the job, in order to sign financial documents, right? So there's an accounting degree. Usually, to know your field, you need to know if you need a master's degree. You need to know that field, so that industry, that organization. So if you're at the lower level accountant, like a junior accountant, you may still be in training, right? So they may take you on as a boutique organization, take you on and say, in about 2 years, you need to take that test and pass that test, right? Before we even consider moving you on, right? Well, you will know if they care about those things by looking at a sample job description. Go to the organization you think you might want to work for, go to their job listing and see if they have an accountant position. And if they're asking for all those X amount of things just to come in, even as a junior accountant, then that gives you planning time. That means you need to take some time to plan how you are going to accomplish that, pay for that fee to take the test. And then some universities offer specialized programs, right? And then you usually gain experience through internships with public accounting or business firms. Another thing you want to think about in terms of your education preparation, if you want to work in public service, then it is good for you to get a bachelor's of science in accounting, but then get a master's in public administration. So that means you know the accounting aspect of it, and you may end up having to get a master's in accounting as well. But at least you get that foot in the door. But the public administration is access to the local government industry. So now you understand the industry, what it requires, what the financial statements look like within that industry, what the process is, right? So those are things you want to consider in terms of education preparation. If you're thinking about licenses, right? So any accountant who files a report with the Securities and Exchange Commission is required to be a licensed certified public accountant. So if your organization is a publicly traded company, they are required to file with the SEC, right? And so sometimes, as noted here, employers may pay the costs associated with the CPA exam. It just depends on the company. CPAs are licensed by their state's Board of Accountancy. So becoming a CPA requires passing a national exam and meeting other state requirements. All states require CPA candidates to complete 150 semester hours of college coursework to be licensed, which is 30 hours more than the usual 4-year bachelor's degree. Many schools offer a 5-year combined bachelor's and master's degree to meet that 150 hour requirement, but a master's degree is not required. But that's important to know, that if the CPA license test requires you to meet 30 hours beyond your regular 4-year bachelor's degree, and if your school, your program offers a 5-year combined program, it's better to take that program. So that means that gives you 5 years of planning into your field, taking maybe internships and volunteer opportunities, etc. But that gives you an opportunity. All states use the 4-part uniform CPA examination from the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, which you might end up having to join as an organization member. Candidates do not have to pass all 4 parts at once, but most states require that candidates pass all 4 parts within 18 months of passing their first part. All states require CPAs to take continuing education courses, including ethics, to maintain their license. So if you go on BLS.gov, this is the best place to show you, to help you plan your entry into the field, so that you're not confused. You don't get your diploma and then apply for jobs. And then when they say you need a master's degree or you need a CPA license, you're not confused. You're not surprised. BLS.gov gives you that information, and then you sort of pair it with the information about the company and what they also require. And remember, companies and academic institutions take all their information from the Department of Labor website, Bureau of Labor Statistics. So the information that you see on their website, on the company's website, or the academic institution program website, that's all secondary information to this primary information, because they take all of their information from Bureau of Labor Statistics. So in terms of advancement, so you need to know what is required in terms of advancement. So usually anyone who wants to become a top executive or financial manager under accountant usually have some kind of background in accounting, for one, internal auditing, or finance. Entry-level public accountants may advance to senior positions as they gain experience and take on more responsibility. Those who excel may become supervisors, managers, partners. They may even open their own public accounting firm. or transferred to executive positions in management, accounting, or internal auditing in private firms. Management accountants, and this is another thing that you want to know because, again, fields are becoming very specialized. It used to be that you just majored in business administration, but now it's business administration with a specialization in accounting, finance, investment, nonprofit, international relations, etc. So as if you decide that you wanted to go for accounting, there are different types of accountants. There's management, public, finance, cost, right? So management accountants often start as cost accountants, junior internal auditors, or trainees for other accounting positions. As they rise through the organization, they may advance to become accounting managers, budget directors, chief cost accountants, or managers of internal auditing. Some become controllers, treasurers, financial vice presidents, chief financial officers, or corporation presidents. Now, this is all up under management accounting. Accountant. Public accountants, management accountants, and internal auditors may move from one type of accounting and auditing to another. Public accountants often move into management accounting or internal auditing. Management accountants may become internal auditors, and internal auditors may become management accountants. However, it is less common for management accountants or internal auditors to move into public accounting, right? So that's giving you a distinction that if you are a public accountant, you may move into a management accounting or internal auditing. But if you are a management accountant or internal auditing, it's less likely that you will move into public accounting because those are two different industries. I think they are hinting at the fact that those are two different industries. So if you know you want to get into service, public service, you need to gear all of your efforts towards you getting into public service, and you tailor your individual programs and preparation towards that. But if you want to work for corporate America, you wouldn't get a master's of public administration. You may get a master's of business administration and maybe specialize in certain types of accounting or finance. So important qualities are important. And what you will often see is, remember that there needs to be a very high focused, conscientious effort towards, accounting for detail. So you got to be a person for an accountant to have analytical and critical thinking skills. So these are the types of people who critically evaluate data, identify issues in documentation, suggest solutions. For example, internal auditors might detect fraudulent use of funds, and public accountants may work to minimize tax liability. So you got to know the difference, right? Communication skills. So the time that you do come out of that office, you got to be able to communicate what you have found. So you got to be able to listen to and discuss facts and concerns from clients, managers, and other stakeholders. You can't come into meetings and say, okay, everything's all right. That's not how things work in that particular environment. You must also be able to discuss the results of their work, both in meetings and in written reports. When people say English is not necessary, well, wait till you get to the levels where you are required to write reports, because you got to be able to communicate in writing your initial issues, problems, research question, hypothesis, or whatever, and then what those results were, and then what your solution might be to resolve that issue. You got to be able to speak that, write that, right? Detail oriented. You must pay attention to detail when compiling and examining documents, especially for tax. Math skills. You got to be able to analyze, compare, interpret facts. Advanced math skills such as calculus, statistical analysis, right? And then lastly, organizational skills. So you got to be a person who is organized, because you got to be able to organize facts and data and information and statistics. And we got to be able to find that information. If you're referencing something and using a citation referencing method or style, we need to be able to find that information. That's why library science is a very important major as well as course, right? With library science, you learn how to group and classify information, right? So that it is retrievable. And when you are in certain types of fields that are highly specialized and highly detailed and require a lot of analytical and critical thinking and detail oriented strategies, the most important thing is being able to access that information. You don't want to make it hard for people to be able to find what they need, because your numbers become their numbers if you are in this field. And if they need to support their numbers, they need to be able to access your numbers. So you can't go around trying to hide your numbers. So knowledge check, 10-year career plan. What are the advanced degree requirements for your field? Although you may have a bachelor's degree, does advancement require a master's degree? What are the licenses and certificate requirements for your field? Does your field require completion of an exam for certification? What are the continuing education requirements for advancement? And then what are your important qualities central to sustaining your hold on that position? How long do you want to stay in one position before moving forward into another position? And, as you increase your capacity and your desire to want to move up, continuing education coursework is already required. But if you want to move up and it requires a certain level of skill set, then you may have to take other types of courses in other types of ways.